It is important that your client is instructed on how to complete a program card. There are a number of components to the card that need to be understood. Most program cards will comprise the following section: a column to list exercises, a column that lists sets and reps, a section where the client will fill in the sets, reps and weights they completed during their workout. This will often be labelled S for sets, R for reps and W for weight. Most program cards will also have a section for notes. Use this section to list any training considerations and contraindications. The first example program we're going to look at is for a beginner. This beginner is looking for fat loss and muscle tone. As you can see, we started out with a warm-up on the exercise bike for 5 minutes. We follow this with a conditioning phase, which involves 4 resistance training exercises. Now, if you look at the resistance training exercise, we've chosen compound exercises. We've chosen 1 for the legs, 1 for the back, 1 for the chest, and 1 for the shoulders. And we are going with 2 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions for each of those exercises. After that, the client will complete 10 minutes on the treadmill and 10 minutes on the exercise bike as part of the cardiovascular component of their program. We follow this with a cool down, which involves 5 minutes on the bike, pedalling lightly. So the major considerations here are we've included 4 exercises because they're a beginner. We feel this is sufficient, and instead of giving 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps, we've only gone with 2 sets of 10 to 12 reps. So this program would take 40 to 45 minutes, which is a good length of time for a beginner. The second program we're going to look at is a program you give the client after 6 to 8 weeks of experience. Now, as you can see on this program, rather than having 4 exercises, we've got 6 resistance training exercises. So what I've done is instead of having 1 leg exercise, I've now got 2 leg exercises, being the squat and the static lunge. Rather than having 1 back exercise, I've now also included 2 back exercises, the seated row and the lat pull down. Now with the seated row, this is a back exercise that works through the movement of shoulder extension, whereas the lat pull down is a back exercise that works through adduction of the shoulders. You'll also notice that rather than doing 2 sets, we're now performing 3 sets on this program. Again, we've got cardio training at the end, followed by a light cool down. This program is more likely to take the client closer to an hour to perform. The third program we're going to look at is a bit different, because rather than doing all our resistance training first and then our cardiovascular training after that, as you can see, I've got cardio training at the start, bike for 5 minutes. I've then got 2 resistance training exercises, followed by some cardio, then another 2 resistance training exercises, more cardio being on the treadmill, and another 2 resistance training exercises, followed by the cool down. So I'm actually spreading and mixing up the cardiovascular training and the resistance training on this program. So even though this goes against some of the principles we discussed earlier, I would use this for a client that finds it really hard to be motivated to do cardiovascular training. So to get them to do 20 or 25 minutes at a time is a real challenge. So by spreading the cardiovascular training throughout the workout, they're more likely to be able to achieve that. This next program is a split program. So what I've decided to do is split the program 2 ways into pushing exercises and pulling exercises. So this would be for a client that has been coming to the gym doing a 1-day program, but now has said to you they'd like to train 4 or 5 times per week. They want to get more involved in their resistance training. So on the pushing day, I've included chest exercises. For the chest exercise, I've put in a bench press and an incline dumbbell press to work the chest and shoulders a bit differently. On the push day, I've also included shoulders, being your shoulder press and your lateral raise, followed by triceps, being the tricep push down. You'll notice that on most exercises, chest, triceps and deltoids all work together to make up the pushing movements. So this is why we've included these all on the same program. I've also included some core activity towards the end of that program. Now, I personally like to have our core exercises at the end of the program rather than at the start. The reason is I don't want to see my core fatigued early in the program before I have to perform resistance training exercises, because these core muscles are going to be relied on to maintain good posture and function throughout the resistance training exercises. On the pulling day, I've included our back and our biceps because again, they work together. I've also included leg exercises on the pulling day, being squats and a lunge. This is also followed with a cool down. As mentioned earlier, another option here for a 2-day program could have been putting legs one day, upper body the next day. Thanks for viewing this presentation. Remember that the concepts learnt during this DVD relate to beginner to intermediate clients. As you progress further through your learning and through your course, you will learn a number of different things related to phases, related to training people with special conditions and training advanced clients. When working with these clients, some of these principles and variables may change.